So I'm Mika Cho. I'm the director of the Ronald H. Silverman Fine Arts Gallery. And first of all, I have to deliver Billie's message. She's supposed to leave the country after this, but something happened, so she had to leave last Wednesday. So she couldn't be here today, and she wanted to say thank you, and then thank you to the artists that are going to be here. But she's going to be here for the closing reception, so if you feel like to come back, you're all welcome to come back. So how this exhibition came about, I've been working with Billie last 6 years, and I am honored and I am so lucky that I work with her. And this is our 4th show. So after the 3rd show we did, that was the Back to Basics show, and that was really difficult show, but it was such a beautiful show, and we were just like so happy about it. But Billie and I were kind of talking, you know, we already did like 3 shows and total of like 250 works we were showing here. So I don't know we should do it again or not. So we left it that way, and then we were traveling together, and she said, what does your next show look like? So I told her several things coming up, but I have this plan, I want to do the photography show. And she said, what kind of idea do you have? So at that time, my idea of the photography show was away from the traditional photography, and I want to find the artists they're using photo method to create the art. So in the end, maybe it can be film, it can be animation, it can be all different things. So she said, how many artists do you have so far? So I said about 6, 7, but when I do the group show, I think 12 is good. And then when we came back from the trip, she sent me an email and sent me a list of the artists of the 42 people. And then there's always a little thumbnail, so she sent with it. And I looked at it, I was just like so impressed. And I'm like, what is this? And she's like, Mika, this is our collection. And we haven't really shown as a group like this. So would you like to do it? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Right? So this is how it came about. And then a lot of times when we do the show, we kind of change and alter, but this one would stick with from the beginning till the end, right? So you will see this 41 different artists' work in the 72 pieces here, and then outside too. And all these artists, their starting point was photography, and then they manipulate and they kind of twist it, and then they add different method, and then the technology goes in there. And through the time of 1960 to current time, and how the photography has been used, how the photography has been presented, but at the same time, how the photography contributed to come up with different art. And then I really congratulate these artists, their creativity. They really push the boundaries, and it's just a great survey to look at, and especially our gallery is at the university. So this is really educational, and then at the same time, you see the history of the art, history of photography art, but you can see the history of the artist's work. So for example, like John Baldessari, right? His work is here, and not many people saw this work, and then they're seeing here. And then like Rauschenberg's, like, you know, the black and white photography, right? So I'm just so happy and honored to have this show. And then today we have about 6 artists here. So we have 4 galleries. This is Gallery 1, Gallery 2, Gallery 3, and then all the way back is Gallery 4. So the Gallery 1, we have Rocky is here. And then Gallery 2, we have the Manfred Muller, and then Stephanie Washburn. And then Gallery 3, we have M.A. Alford. And then Gallery 4, we have a Jennifer Gunlock, and then Brian. So I want these artists to talk about their work very briefly, like 3 to 5 minutes, And then that's going to be already 30 minutes, right? And then after that, we can mingle, and then if you have more questions to the individual artists, and you can talk to them. Does it sound good? Okay, so Rocky, let's start.
That's my piece. I shoot everything under the sun. I shoot landscapes, I shoot lots of people. I was in my backyard yesterday shooting a spider web because I love spider webs. I shoot everything, and I don't edit myself. I just go for it. This was shot on film, 35 millimeter. The print is very straightforward, but what I do after I print it is I hand tint it with oil paint, and that's what I do. I mean, I have a drink, and I put on a movie, and I sit there and hand paint on each photograph, and it's very therapeutic for me. And if I have a couple of books out, which you can check out the work. This is very different from most of my work. My work is very all over the place, but I shoot a lot of landscapes and human beings. But there you go. There's a hand-tinted, it's an old-fashioned Victorian process, hand tinting. And I do it in color, and I do it in black and white, and I use brown and black and white oil paint and enhance the photograph to make it look a little bit more romantic. There you have it. I'm getting off camera.
Hello, good afternoon. First of all, my appreciation to the direction of this beautiful show about photography. Speaking about that later. I know how much work it takes to bring these work together, and not only hanging, and also great and wonderful compliment to the catalog, who is really a beautiful fundus about that. You see here, and I know that everybody was involved, you know, Mika, of course, and all your wonderful helpers. You see here conceptual drawings of a public artwork that I did under the Santa Monica Pier. My relationship to photography is maybe a little bit different than what happened here on the West Coast. I'm originally from Germany. I came here 30 years ago, and maybe you remember Santa Monica Museum of Art in Santa Monica. And I was one of the 7 artists who did actually inauguration show, a brand new museum, and 7 artists from Europe who opened up this museum. So I checked in, but I didn't check out, you know. Great to say that, because also, but I was so carefully to keep my space in Germany and have that studio or workspace still until this time. It has its pro and its contra, but I don't want to talk about that yet. What I saw in Europe when photography was established as an artwork, I saw something that had to do actually very abstract, very confirmed, very minimalistic, you know. I want to remember you on the School of Photography, Hillenbrand-Becher, maybe you heard about that, where Thomas Ruf, Gursky, etc. This is my generation, and I grew up actually with these guys. But specifically, I admire their teacher, who became very famous about these lost, or let's say abandoned coal mining architecture, water towers, etc., etc. Almost like, that's my point, almost like an engineering point. You make it in front, then you go 90 degrees, you make it one more time, and sometimes it happened also that you couldn't do it. It was almost like an engineering plan. So that's the reason, that's a little bit European, you know. So, but coming back to photography, so I'm doing public art. I'm doing also painting and drawing, very conceptual. And I think I belong also to the generation of artists who are sometimes looking actually to the left and right. I have at least 9 or 10 photographic projects that are going parallel to my sculpture work, my object work, and I cannot let that go. As an artist, normally, when I grow up, you have one product and you show it all the time. Remember? I mean, we see Jacques Close, who we liked and who we admire, but we know he is in this kind of, how you call it? Painterly photography? No, how you call it? Help me. It doesn't matter. Or you saw, yes, sorry? Photographic paintings? Yeah, photographic paintings. Doesn't matter. So, specifically what I'm doing also, when I'm doing a conception drawing, I'm taking photography material, tell you there's nothing wrong to go under the Santa Monica Pier and making photos. Some of you guys did that. For me, as a newcomer, as a new kid on the block in 1989, for me it was the Alhambra of the west coast of America. Immediately I became the idea, I want to get a project that has a certain kind of, I would say, an environmental issue, and I will tell you that in a moment. One conception drawing is one of maybe 15, 16 different ideas that I give the city of Santa Monica to do this installation under the Santa Monica Pier. In general, the city of Santa Monica is not crazy about the space, but because they think it's uncontrollable, it's also criminal, it's dark, you know. And I think this is my job in the introduction of this project, to say, you know, you guys, you have the best space in the world. You are competitive. Okay, I'm not going that far, you know. But so it took actually 7 years to get the approval. And then I had to learn that I also have to finance the whole project. So what makes it maybe also a little bit difficult, I introduced this project at the city council meeting in my broken English 30 years ago. I said, the boats are not going back to the water, who are installed now. They were installed, okay, I forgot about that. They were installed vertically lashed. So this was not acceptable, this idea to have them swinging under the planks, you know. So they were vertically lashed. I have also a catalog that can show you that. The boats are not going back to the water until there's a new awareness about the ocean that makes life on this planet happen in the first place. We'll only say that the ocean, according to science, is actually responsible, beautifully responsible, for 80% of our oxygen that we are breathing. The rest comes from every plant, specifically from the rainforest, you know. So if the ocean is getting mistreated, and that was the second part of my is mistreated by pollution and overfishing. Guys, I tell you that was 35 years ago when I said that, you know. The city members, they were sitting in the kind of U form. They went back and then I heard somebody rounding, we don't like that somebody comes from outside to advertise that we are responsible for the pollution of the ocean. In my broken English, that microphone was here, say, we all involved, you know. They clipped out my microphone and said, so next please. So they kicked me actually out right away, you know. To get the story not too long, it were actually one council member and somebody from outside of the council who was actually part of the Arts Commission. They came back to me 2 weeks later and said, Manfred, the idea is a great idea and we learn from your work, but we have to refine the text. Don't speak about pollution. Don't speak about overfishing. Let's speak about awareness. Let's speak about how how we see the ocean, what the ocean can do for us, what we can do. We're not doing anything for the ocean. You know, that was my response. Okay, so coming back to photography, so I'm using these impressions, you know, and I'm also, like my colleague here, where's my colleague from before, I'm using also oil paints to filter that with the coloration. And I'm using every medium in order to make this is that my phone? No. While I was, am I in my car and driving? No, of course not. I'm using everything to make, to introduce an idea, and of course today we can make it digitally better, but I still like the idea of this project. The project was closed in 3 years ago in 2022, because the ocean did something that was amazing. It pushed hundreds of tons of sand into this area. And believe me, the sand was standing like that, you know? And finally you saw only the arches from these boats, and a couple of homeless people, suddenly they had dry ground, clipped their tents on it, what is okay with me, but for the city was a big problem. I appealed against to take the boats down, and I'm actually got the city also involved, that we do a film documentation about this project, and I'm in the middle of that now, you know. I want to say one thing, photography, as it's seen today, is part of an art world piece here. I remember hearing the story of a very famous American photographer, maybe you know him, William Eggleston. He is a star. He was supported by a curator at the MoMA in 1972 with his, I can say, snapshots, beautifully done for color photography. The audience were split in hate and love. That's the time when it begins, and they were so brave to bring that to the MoMA. That was the time when it begins to have a different look into photography. So I'm making a shortcut. If I have a question, I'm happy to answer them, okay? Thank you. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank Billie and the Weisman family. There's so many generations of artists that have been supported by the family, so thank you for that. I'll be shorter. Like many artists here, photography is one of many media I've used. I focus on the relationship between art and ecology, and often exploring the landscape genre. This image is from a series of photographs I did where I'm layering different physical materials against a flat screen backdrop. So the series documents this interface between the physical world and the digital world. This particular image is embers, so fire on the surface of the digital screen. So there's a kind of narrative tension and a material tension between what's happening on the physical surface and then in the digital image. And then as a digital photograph, it's again going back into that space. So this kind of digital world surrounding this interface with the physical. So maybe I leave it there. We have a number of artists, but again, happy to answer questions. Thanks.
Hello, my name is M.A. Alford. M.A. stands for Mark Allen. I am these two underwater pictures that are flanked next to Joy Mark Johnson's, which is also very cool, and I love the kind of pool theme that's going on. I shot these in 2010. I was a senior in high school, and I was really into film photography, got an underwater film camera, and I was also a swimmer in high school. And one of my best friends, she was a really good swimmer, and she wanted her senior pictures taken underwater, so that's kind of what started the whole thing. We went to a thrift store, picked up a bunch of dresses, and did kind of like an underwater shoot. I continued doing that series and then had my first show summer after freshman year before I went to Pepperdine. And that's where I met Billie and got involved in the Weisman Foundation. I actually worked at the museum on campus as well. But yeah, these are 2 images that I shot for that first show. Different ones kind of had different meanings. The whole series is called Ethereal Waters. This one on the right is called Sven Inglar, which is a title of a Sigur Rós song that I really liked at the time, and means sleepwalking angels. And so the idea of like having someone sleeping underwater, this kind of mix of the two. And then this one's called Alas, and we had just read Alas Babylon, which is kind of this post-apocalyptic book, and kind of was thinking about that with the distortion of the human body and kind of a Jacometian kind of mannerist approach. So that's the work. Thank you.
Very nice.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Gunlock, and this is my piece Habitat, which I made in 2017. I made it for an 8-woman exhibition at the Brand Library in Glendale. It was called Mad Made, and it was about the built environment. And that's the basic concept of my practice is making collage drawings that are about the human impact on the landscape, how we alter the landscape, and over time that maybe in a post-human future, the nature comes back and reclaims itself, but it still has to adapt to what we've planted in it. So this piece, I was thinking about kind of creating like sort of a faux LA landscape, LA-inspired landscape, where I was thinking about how when it comes to ornamentation with plants, we traditionally pull out the natives and replace them with imported palm trees and imported ornamental plants. And so I kind of think of that as like domestication of animals, like as pets or as livestock. So it's again, our manipulation. And so what I do, my process is whenever I travel or walk around locally, I photograph trees and architecture, buildings, any kind of random thing, and I build up this library of images. Then I print them out on just photocopy paper, and then using acrylic medium, I tear up these pieces and glue them on, and so there's my photo imagery and decorative papers, rice papers, and colored pencil, and then it's finished with a fine varnish. So yeah, my work is really just about, it's sort of like kind of a tree house kind of thing is, in here. But these are like sort of palm tree-like and maybe like a eucalyptus, again, invasive plants. They're beautiful, but a fire hazard, because, and so some of the images in here, the primary images, like this kind of skeletal structure of these trunks, came from a bridge project in Long Beach. I lived in Long Beach at the time when I was making this. And they were tearing down an old bridge linking Long Beach to Terminal Island to the port, and then building a new one. And that took like 5 or 6 years to do. So every once in a while I'd kind of drive down underneath and take pictures of the building in progress. So that's what all this stuff is. It's just all that, because I was really on my mind. And it was definitely influenced by the port of LA, the heavy industry. I think a lot of people that live in Long Beach tend to have that. A lot of artists end up putting that in their work. And the trees, they also come from a trip I did in New Orleans in 2010. I spent a week just by myself, just playing tourist. And it was in March, and so it was late winter. And so the oak trees didn't have leaves yet, but there was the Spanish moss kind of crawling over it. So a lot of the parts in here are from New Orleans. And also, Clifton's Cafeteria in downtown LA when it was boarded up. This is from the French Quarter in New Orleans. So it's just like this hybrid of all these different places. So for me personally, even though the audience doesn't need to read it, it's almost like a kind of a diary of my own travels and my own experiences on that kind of micro level. But on a larger scale, it's really just, you know, pushing for nature and, you know, in that tension between human impact and nature's resilience. I'm just like, you go and take over. So that's my work. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brian Paumier. This work actually is, what's interesting, where's the students in here? We have students in here? Okay, so I took this image when I was an undergrad at Art Center. Thank Billie, thank the Weisman Foundation that they purchased this. At the time I was working with a good friend of mine, his name was Joaquin Trujillo. He's not here now. He lives in Mexico, but we were working together as a team, and that's why it's labeled as Trujillo Paumier. But long story short, I just kind of want to talk to the students and everyone here, but I want to say that put importance in whatever you do. Whatever you're doing or wherever you're at in your career, you never know what's going to happen. I didn't know this was going to sell. I didn't know the Weisman Foundation was going to have it. I didn't know that, but you know what? It happened, and it gave me the validation, and it gave me a launching pad for my career and what I do now. If you see what I do now, it's completely different, but this is my origin. This is my beginning. I met Manfred back here years and years and years and years ago when I was a student, and I was an admirer of his work. I loved his sculptural pieces. He was a huge influence in my life. Now, he's in the other room with me. It's an awesome, awesome journey. And I kind of wanted to, sorry, okay, technical, okay, it's shot 8x10, it's on a Deerdorf, it's 8x10 film, it's straight photography, okay, cool. But honestly, what I wanted to do was, I wanted to talk to the students, and I want to talk to the MFA students, I wanted to talk to the undergrad students, because you never know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Take every opportunity you possibly can, and you know what? You never know where it's going to lead you. You know, when I was your guys' age, did I ever think I was going to be in a room at Cal State LA talking about work that I did 20 years ago? No, I didn't think about that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm here now. I'm here now. Okay. But long story short, I was a huge, huge student of, or a huge admirer of Sagimoto, and the quote of him, one of his famous photography quotes, "Photography is a fossil of time." I was into the long exposure, couldn't keep me away from it. I would expose things onto back in the day, some of us older people here, we had something called Cibachrome, which was a material that you made prints from slides. I used to put that in my 8x10 camera and my 12x12 camera because it let me do 2 to 3 to 4 hour exposures. So this actual exposure here is probably around 2 hours. 2 hour exposure. That's why you can kind of see these ghostly images. You can see the person behind the hotcake stand and things like that. But long story short is there was something about the patina, there was something about the permanency that I was really attracted to, and also the patina that things would have, that like for carnivals and things like that I was really attracted to. The other thing too was these are spaces. This is actually shot in Zacatecas, Mexico, at what they call the feria. The other thing too is it was so interesting because this work has been with the Weisman Foundation for a long time. You guys used to do shows at the Carnegie Art Museum in Oxnard, California, where I was born and raised, and it was amazing. I walked in to a kind of a show like this at the Carnegie Art Museum in Oxnard, and there was a 4th grade class that was sitting in front of this piece of work from Santa Clara Elementary School, which is across the street. I was in that same school. This piece has like brought me to many schools, but it was interesting to see all those little 4th graders looking at my work, and I wore that same uniform and watched them there. And Billie at the time, she was kind of talking about it, and she goes, "Well, here's the artist. He just walked in," and they all turned around like at once, and they all looked at me and went, "Whoa!" It was like one of the most interesting parts of my career as a photographer. But I want to keep it short. If you guys have questions, I'm here to answer them. But I guess I'm the last guy, right? Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
But again, thank you so much. And then as you see this 6 artists talk, I think in this exhibition, every single work has its own story, its own technology, its own background. So I put my effort in it. I put one artist by one artist on the Instagram. So if you go into the Ronald H. Silverman Fine Arts Gallery Instagram, you will read about individual artists' work. I couldn't put all the photos, but just representing each artist. So thank you so much, and then try to walk around and